Now, it's quite unsettling how Umar, an assistant professor in the General Medicine Department of Al-Falah University, a trained doctor sworn to save lives, coolly argues that suicide terror isn't merely permissible, it is noble. He speaks like a man on a divine mission, desperate to romanticize a massacre. The only times that he seems to be losing his cool is towards the end, where he struggles to articulate his thoughts. He falters, he rambles, and then abruptly concludes this recording. It seems like Umar is rehearsing his statement before releasing a more polished version. Now, sources have told Times Now that this was exactly that. A trial run for a version that his module planned to release after the blast. A grotesque justification for mass murder, placing together the evidence and even the statements of the November 10 car blast. Sources are saying that the terror module was planning multiple blasts and motivating people as well, possibly timed around the anniversary of the demolition of the disputed Babri Masjid structure on December 6th. The video appears to have been shot in the premises of the Al-Falah University. And in fact, what we are also told is that Umar had been working there since 2023. Agencies are trying to verify the date of when this was shot.
One of the very misunderstood concept of what has been labeled as suicide bombing. It is martyrdom operations, and it is being known in Islam. There are multiple contraindications, but there are multiple arguments that have been brought against it. Martyrdom operations. When a person presumes that he is going for sure die at a particular place at a particular time, he goes against the presumption that a particular is going to die in a particular situation.
So what really was the idea possibly behind actually recording such a video? Let's try and break this down. An attempt perhaps to radicalize more youth. The second objective that it could have, and let's quickly have up on the screen, is to find more men for further suicide missions. Objective number 3, motivate people like Jasir Bilal 1. Objective number 4, if Jasir refused, he would said that the suicide would be, or suicide by fire would be haram. And in fact, objective number 5 is that further disseminate the video after the Delhi blast. This is what sources are indicating to us. But let's quickly go through this particular video and look at some of the highlights that we can see in a frame-by-frame analysis. Let's look at this. It's been shot in a propaganda kind of manner. It's a propaganda-style reel that is, of course, using professional gadgetry, including a mic that you can see that is actually right here. He stuck it right there on his t-shirt collar. He speaks in English, possibly to reach out to a global audience as well. The third highlight, he's speaking in an American accent, possibly to appeal to a wider audience. He also has recorded this with a cordless mic. He's shot with professional grade equipment is what we can see. Now viewers, the beginning, all right, this is very, very clear that this is the manner in which this entire video has been shot. Just look at the kind of reel that we're looking at. He's also shifty-eyed. He's looking below, the camera lens. He's not looking directly into the lens. What does that reveal about the mindset of this individual? The very fact that he's speaking in English very clearly means that he wants to reach out to a wider audience, not just restricted to the area that he is currently working in, but perhaps appeal to an audience across India, or perhaps even to an audience across the world. Debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Let's take this across to our guest. Joining us is Lieutenant General KJS Dillon. He is, of course, former GOC of Chinar Corps. We have Major General Sanjay Meston, who's an ex-defense attaché of Afghanistan, joining us. We have Dr. Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, with us on the broadcast. And also with us is Dr. Deepak Raheja, psychiatrist, who's with us. Dr. Raheja, I'm going to come across to you first. If you've seen this video, You know, there are a couple of telltale signs. Of course, he's trying to reach out to a wider audience. The fact that he's used English as a medium, he's speaking in a rehearsed American accent. He doesn't quite make the cut in terms of actually doing that as well. But the very fact that he's so shifty-eyed, the fact that his chair is swiveling throughout the entire video, what do these body movements tell you about the mind of the person who's making the video?
So I think he's making a very conscious effort to portray that he's calm. He's not calm, but what we see is a very airy aftermath and end result of what could easily be seen as radical, ideological radicalization. So this is like very well chosen manner. Like you rightly said, the way he speaks, he's speaking in English. He's trying to appear that he's very tranquil. He's trying to not feel feared by death. He's trying to glorify death as martyrdom and shahadat. And he's trying to also use religious fundamentals to show that it's spoken about in religious texts. So I think this is a very, what really worries is the white-collar terrorism that we see. This is a doctor speaking English who can easily be seen as a role model, can influence a lot of people. And this will then become a huge challenge to the society because, with educated people, we see a certain amount of immunity. They can earn a livelihood. He's been working in a medical college. For such people to get radicalized and to give in to absolute radical behavior is a sign of concern as to where the society is going to pick up the undercurrents. Do we put our radars and keep start to look at all the medical institutions, the premier engineering institutions, because this is definitely trying to reach out to a global audience, trying to show that this is a role model and it is okay to be radical, it is okay to be martyr, it is okay to, he talks about suicidal bombing and he's not trying to flinch. You can
absolutely. And in fact, it's absolutely shocking that he's been able to shoot this video for a couple of reasons. And let me bring in KJ's Dylan on that. General Dylan, the point we all know right through the 90s to the 2000s, these terrorists would make great attempts at concealing their face, hiding them with all sorts of scarves. But here you have this man who has absolutely no compunction, talking about suicide, justifying it also on religious grounds and so on and so forth. And he's putting his face to all of these aspects. Now, this is what is perhaps the most worrying, that even if this is a propaganda video, he has no problem being identified with it.
Good evening, Madhav, and good evening to the fellow panelists and your viewers. Yes, in the 90s, when there was no social media, when there was no culture of making reels and videos and posting it online, the terrorists used to hide their face, used to hide their identity, because they would know if their picture comes out in the open, the police and the security agencies will get after him. Now, today's world, this man wants to gain, as the psychiatrist on the panel was saying, he wants to gain a lot of eyeballs, and he wants to gain attention of the world. And that's the reason he's speaking in that borrowed accent and the English language. But what is clearly visible from the video is he is not comfortable. He is stammering. He is giving pauses. He's trying to remember some words which he thought he would use in this video. And in the end, when this video doesn't come out the way he wanted it to, he is not comfortable with that, and he puts the camera away towards the window. In between, he makes a very significant action. He's sniffing and he's touching his nose, a typical of a druggie. And he looks drugged. In 90s or late 90s, when the suicide bombing was a norm started by the Jaish-e-Mohammed, I was a young major in the valley. Every suicide bomber who tried to enter the security forces post used to be heavily drugged. He was so heavily drugged that he doesn't recognize what is right and what is wrong. And in this particular video, he's trying to justify the mass murder of the innocent civilians by giving it a religious language or the words twist. No religion on the earth justifies or acknowledges killing of innocents as a part of the religion. So he's trying to give a twist to that whole thing by trying to justify it. So that all these things show that he was radicalized to the hilt. And radicalization, again, I would like to make a mention here in the valley. When Hurriyat was calling the shots in the late 90s and early 2010 and all, the Syed Ali Shah Gilani used to give recommendations for students from Kashmir for getting admission in various medical and engineering colleges in India and abroad. And he used to pick up the students from the families with the Jamaiti background. So the radicalization at home was already there.
Right.
And then send the children out for, higher studies and white collar jobs and white collar qualifications. And when these people returned, if I can use the word, the radicalization was only in the DNA. The only thing is someone now had to handle them, radicalize them more, and convert them into human bombs.
Right.
That's
if I can bring in
what has happened with this man.
Yeah, if I can bring in Dr. Vikram Singh. Dr. Vikram Singh, here's a man who's making this reel. As I was telling General Dhillon a short while earlier, he's actually using, one of those cordless mics. He's, recording this inside the same Al-Falah hostel at perhaps one of the higher floors, perhaps in a bid to try and avoid being detected. It's a very simple, bare room that he's sitting in. What does this really tell you about this individual? Because even in this bid to record this particular video, he is very clearly, wanting to be seen alone, not wanting to associate any particular location. And of course, by mistake, perhaps he ends up recording the video and the location. So we know that it's shot in the Al-Falah hostel. And that's what even the police sources have been telling us.
Good evening, Madhav Ji and esteemed co-panelists. There are important signals that the speaker has given. Firstly, he is self-conscious. Secondly, he's nervous. Thirdly, he's bleary-eyed. And of course, the fact that, as General Dhillon sir has pointed out, that it is a clear-cut indication of consumption of substance abuse. Now, under these circumstances, it is very clear. But the black cloth that is suspended there also goes to show the frugal outline of the hostel of the Al-Falah Hospital building. And whatever he may try to conceal, yes, of course, he had some basic equipment, but it's certainly not the state-of-the-art equipment. This is something that is easily and readily available, both from Amazon and also in the Ghaffar market. Nothing great about that. And the well-rehearsed speech that he has made for about almost a minute, he has fumbled many a times, and I don't blame him for that, because substance abuse does play tricks with the mind and the articulation. The choice of words, again, leaves much to be desired. The choice of English, if it's a highly cultivated anglicized accent, also is indicative of the fact that perhaps he wanted to reach out to a world, to a universal audience. Anyway, the fact of the matter is the world knows, and I would like to point out, it is not for the first time that the so-called white-collar crime, they're all hues of colors. We had Syed Muhammad Umar Sheikh, a pass out of London School of Economics, who was number 2 in Al-Qaeda, arrested by the UP police when he kidnapped 3 British nationals. So it is not for the first time, Madhavji. There have been earlier cases of such misdemeanors as well.
Absolutely. We've seen the Glasgow attack where, in fact, one of the accused there was Kafil Khan, who hailed originally from Bengaluru, and other cases as well. But General Meston, very quickly, we have some breaking news coming in. Before I go across to that, the very fact that he's making this video, how much of this is just to try and establish himself, and how much of this is to try and perhaps recruit others, because we know that these are individuals who have almost 3,000 kilos of explosives with them. Do you think that this could be an attempt, and we do know they were misusing certain social media platforms, this could be part of another recruitment drive on their part?
Yeah, Madhav, definitely it is an attempt to motivate and radicalize more youth. But I would just like to highlight, since I was in Afghanistan and I saw so many suicide bombings, I went into details. What is the pattern? Firstly, any suicide bomber, he is drugged before that. And after the drugging, he goes to a masjid, he's taken to a masjid, and he is motivated. Same pattern has happened here. And here also he's drugged. And there is fear, showing in his face, because he knows he's also going to face death. Number 2, is this new pattern? No. I went into a lot of details in Afghanistan, and I was told by some people, Afghans, that the Pakistan army and the ISI has picked up this kind of thing, this fidayeen concept. Since when? This is 10th century AD. And what was the concept there? The people were called as fidayeens. They were taken to a garden where they were given drugs, they were given women, everything, and they were replicated something of what paradise would be. And after that, once the drug impact was finished, they would be taken to the grand master, the grand old master, and then he would ask, where were you? They said, we were in paradise. Would you like to go there? They would say, yes. And therefore, they were again given opium. and drugs. That time, this is 10th century AD, and this is reflected in the large number of books written by one Brigadier General Percy, History of Afghanistan. So what I'm trying to highlight, this is not a new concept. This has been tried by the Pakistan army, and this is the way they are indoctrinating. And why these people, even this chap's start point is, that this has been misunderstood. The concept of self-sacrifice or suicide has been misunderstood. This is exactly what he's trying to state, that it is not, and we are doing it sacrifice to God, to Allah. This is what they are trying to show. So it is motivation, indoctrination, and it is basically combination of drugs.
Misinterpreted, misconceived, certainly, of course, as far as these interpretations are concerned. But gentlemen, stay on. We have some breaking news coming in at this point of time. And this is, in fact, the latest update that we have coming in. Agencies have made major leads, or have gotten major leads as far as the investigation is concerned. The probe against Dr. Umar. NIA is searching for 2 mobile handsets belonging to him, switched off on 30th October 2025. Now, loop call analysis has confirmed that his communication with a Maulana as well as multiple Kashmir-based doctors was there. However, investigators are saying that there's a major challenge that remains, that they have not recovered these devices, and therefore internet-based call data and app communications can't be retrieved, limiting further revelations. Priyank is joining us for more on this. Priyank, this is a massive bit of information that you're telling us, that the investigators are very keen on locating that handset, because without that, the further probe could receive some amount of setback, because they won't have those app-based communications to take the investigation further.
Yeah, absolutely right, Madhav. 2 of the mobile phones, one of them is an high-tech mobile phone, is also missing, which was used by the accused who had exploded himself in this attack. But the fact of the matter is that internet-based calls will be difficult to be tracked till the time the agencies get to know that where exactly these mobile phones are. So far, they have been banking on the CDR loop analysis of the phone call which was made by accused Umar in this particular case till 30th of October, because that was the time when the mobile phone got switched off, because he knew that other accused are being arrested by the multiple agency. But one more point what our guests have also been pointing out is that he was given this instruction to make this short video because the youngsters, the youth generally prefer to make and use these small videos on the Instagram and other accounts. That's why 1 minute 20-second video was made by him. He had memorized this point very well. He had researched it time and again. That's why you can see he was looking at the right side. He was not looking exactly on the lens of the camera, and the high-tech gadgets were used by him. These are the videos which are circulated on a very close circuit chat group which he had made along with the other accused. That's why these videos have surfaced. But the fact of the matter is the 2 mobile phones which were used by Dr. Umar is yet to be traced, for which the agencies have been questioning various individuals.
Thanks so much, Priyank, for joining us with a quick update. Let's also put out some more news coming in. The founder of Al Falah University, Javed Ahmed Siddiqui, has been produced before the court. He's been arrested, of course, by the Enforcement Directorate, and the agency is now seeking his custody. He was arrested just a short while back. Let me quickly take this across to my colleague Kritika, who's joining us. Kritika, where is this individual at the moment? Which court has he been presented in? Can you take us through the details? Because he was an individual who was already under the scanner for certain financial irregularities from much earlier.
Well, absolutely. In fact, the FIR also, which is concerned, which is also at the core of the investigation into Siddiqui's financial mishandling, also concerns with the NAC and the UGC certification. We are also currently reporting from outside the Jamia, the Al Falah house in Jamia Nagar as well. A gate has been set up, so it's also barricaded from the general public, but currently is also being produced in court, in the ED court as we speak, and ED will be in fact demanding custody of Siddiqui as well. He is at the center of this entire trust. In fact, Al Falah Trust was set up in 1995, and he was the managing trustee as well as the founder of this. 9 addresses of 9 different shell companies are all registered at the Al Falah house that we are reporting from outside of. This is also where ED was doing extensive searches as well, along with 24 other locations linked linked with Javed Ahmad Siddiqui as well. This is the latest that we can get to our viewers. Currently, they've barricaded a lot of this area from media and general public as well. Only residents can access it. But as far as Siddiqui is also concerned, remember, Madhav, the NAC accreditation as well as the UGC false claims. Now, the UGC false claims are about a certification that even as of now is visible on the Haryana State Education site, which says that Al-Falah has or can in fact be eligible for getting central government grants. Now this the UGC has discarded as false information. They have only recognized Al-Falah as a state university, and both of these claims that the university makes, the ED's case as of the moment is that both the NAC accreditation as well as this additional central funds grant addition is also
all right. Thanks so much for that, Kritika, as well as Priyank, for joining us on all those breaking updates. We'll keep coming back to you for all those developments as well. I want to quickly take this right back to our guests, because you know what we have here are some of those visuals, and if I can quickly get that on the screen before I come back to you, gentlemen, very quickly, just want to take you through these visuals. This is this individual. He's standing here. He's shooting this with a mobile gadget. It's a high-tech gadget, is what Priyank was telling us. He's shown a very calm demeanor, or at least attempting to. The psychiatrist on our panel says this shows that it's a clear attempt to do so. Of course, a cordless microphone that we can see that has been used is being clipped to his collar right there. And of course, he also is faking an American accent as he's trying to address in English. It's shot, of course, inside an isolated room, and he perhaps accidentally ends up showing the window and the area outside of that particular room as well. So these are just some of the images which tells you a story. It tells you a very important story of an individual who's very clearly trying to hide something. And let's quickly take this right back to our guest. You know, one of the things that he mentions, if I can come across to you, Lieutenant General Dillon, is that he refers to certain arguments and contradictions. You know, the very question is that why would somebody do that? Is he unsure about what he's saying? Is he confused? Because at the end of the video, his chain of thought completely trails off. Of course, as you were telling us, he is somebody who's perhaps done some amount of substance abuse, but even his clarity, which he wants to bring out, somebody appears to be totally confused.
One of the point is, like I said earlier, no religion, even Islam, justifies the killing of innocents. And now to get this, give it a different twist. Now he is saying there are certain contradictions. It's not a self-sacrifice. It's a, martyrdom operations. He's using these high-flying words to justify that it is okay to kill innocent civilians. Now that only means he is a radicalized to the hate terrorist who would kill innocents, and to justify whatever he is doing the right thing. So somewhere there is a contradiction within his mind. That's why he's not meeting the eye in the camera. He's trying to, he is very fidgety, and he is literally stammering, and he is trying to remember those words which he had probably, penned down to use during this video recording. So there is a whole lot of body language which is, he is not very sure, he is confused, he is definitely under influence of substance abuse. And then in the end, that thing that he has not got it right. Probably he would have retaken this video again, and I don't know what, but he is not at the end of the video, he is not very happy with his own self, either the way he recorded it or the way he tried to justify it, knowing it fully well that what he's saying is not correct.
General Weston, have you come across any other videos like this? Terrorists coming out, at least in India, speaking in English or attempting to make, some kind of videos that could influence others. I at least haven't seen anything like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Even I have not seen, but let me tell you, in Afghanistan, I have seen some of the videos which exactly used to be on the similar lines, and especially the way they were indoctrinated, and the kind of video, the kind of motivation and indoctrination is done, because especially in case of India, repeatedly they would show, the demolition of Babri Masjid, etc., and that would incite, passions or whatever it is. And in this particular video, it is very, very clear. He has fear in the end. That is coming out very clear. But at the same time, his start point is very clear, that self-sacrifice or, suicide, that is, and this is what exactly I was telling you, in the 10th century AD also, it was clearly referred to as fidai. That word is there, fidai, and which means sacrifice. And fidayen in plural language means a number of people doing sacrifice. So this is exactly what he's trying to say, that I'm sacrificing my life for so-and-so, and of course that is for Allah, and therefore he will go to paradise, and therefore this is going to motivate a lot of young youth, the people, that this is the way to reach paradise.
But let's also look at what could be important directions, policy and otherwise that we need to look at. Dr. Vikram Singh, a lot has been spoken about the entire idea of community participation, of de-radicalization. How do we actually see that happening on ground when we are faced with this kind of a threat? People actually going out and making videos. Apart from the attack itself, this is a very, very dangerous trend we are looking at.
Madhavji, a very important point has been made by you, and I would say that I've had the opportunity of confronting Maulvis and Maulanas with the fidayeens and also those arrested, those that were hardcore ISI, hardcore Kashmiri militants, and the Maulvis did not on the first day, not on the second day, but on the third day, the community participation had a very sobering impact on all without exception. Therefore, you have a very pertinent point. To de-radicalize, you have to, the community elders will have to come ahead, take a step forward in the positive direction. And yes, the police and the public participation and the government participation would be imperative, because de-radicalization is something that should be on the topmost priority, because without that, I don't see any corrective measures happening. The clock has to be turned backwards, and the elders in the community, the Maulvis, will have to come forward, give a sobering impact on all those who have been given the slow poison through the ISI, through our neighbors, and the end product, you can see that what a mess he has made of his life, and he's trying to make a bigger mess of those whom he's trying to touch with his words, the shattering words, and also through lot of self-conscious effort that he's trying to make. But you're very right. The effort that has to be made by the Maulvis, the elders, has to be there and experiment. This is the internationally best practice, duly implemented in Malaysia, Singapore, and Europe, where this has given positive results.
All right. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Lieutenant General KJS, Dylan Major, Sanjay Beston, Dr. Vikram Singh and Dr. Deepak Raheja. Certainly, of course, a very, very chilling video, but there are lessons to be learned, and certainly important ones as far as India's battle against terror is concerned. This is the mindset that has to be defeated, ladies and gentlemen.